she walked her in one day and she was like, I'm gonna have her train with you today. And I'm like, okay. She seemed like a nice enough girl. So I'm like, okay. But in my mind, I'm like, what is going on? So I started training with the young lady. She was 8 months pregnant. And one day she was like, I'm going to go to lunch with you. And I was like, all right. We went and grabbed something to eat and we sat at the park and we started eating. And she was like, I want to tell you something. And I was like, what's up? And she was like, she hates you. She hates you. She's like, I hate those light skinned Halle Berry looking bees that think they so cute and they so much better than everybody else. And I'm like, my heart was just broken.
Who's ready for some girl talk?
Welcome to Girl Talk. I'm Nicole D. Miller, author, blogger, speaker, hybrid book publisher, and your host. At Girl Talk, we are a safe space for female leaders to engage in healing and edifying conversation. This is your Me Too, empathetic corner, where we have authentic and transformative dialogue designed to uplift and connect high-achieving women like you. Are you looking for a safe space to cultivate sisterhood with other like-minded female bosses? Leave your cape at the door and join the conversation. Hi guys, and welcome to Girl Talk 101. I'm your host, Nicole D. Miller. This upcoming segment will be a one-on-one with Nakia Hudson and Ari Baker, two of our panelists from the discussion, Is Colorism Still a Thing? If for some reason you missed parts 1 and 2, please run them back. I for one appreciated getting to dive deeper into the lives of the women from our talk, since colorism is so meaty and runs deep. We couldn't possibly fit all our thoughts, life experiences, and feelings into just one sit-down discussion. So, the one-on-ones afford us a greater chance to hear from these ladies. I just loved how Nakia's warm, beautiful heart shined through, and Ari's honest, truth-telling style took the lead. I invite you in for another special treat of sisterhood, healing, and support for women leaders. Now, sit back, relax, grab your favorite beverage, and join the conversation. Hi guys, and welcome to Girl Talk 101. I am your host, Nicole D. Miller, and I'm so excited to re-welcome no stranger to the Girl Talk platform, Miss Ari Baker. How are you tonight, Ari?
Hey y'all, I'm doing great. No complaints. Everything's good.
So you guys have to have tapped into Ari on several of our discussions, but just in case you haven't, I'm going to let Ari introduce herself to you guys, let you know her business, let you know her websites, her brands, all the things.
Hey everyone, my name is Ari. My real name is Ariel Baker, RN-MSN. I am a nurse wellness coach. I have my master's in nursing education. I've been a nurse for 12 years. I also have a class where I focus on step aerobics. My biggest mission for my community is to teach health and wellness outside of just physicality, but to also tap into holistic thinking, making sure that you're healthy with your mind, body, and spirit, finances, all the things that encompass. I am also an autism advocate. My son, my autism warrior, he has autism, so I really advocate for that. And I am also an author. With the help of Nicole, I have a book called Sorry for the Wait. Make sure you tap in on Amazon, follow the link. You can follow me on all social media platforms that are called Train Ari Strong. My biggest goal is just to make sure that everybody watching learns how to love themselves, find their biggest way of tapping into their health and wellness that's comfortable for them. So that's a little bit about me. Oh, you can come see me on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. at the Vault. I teach step. Same thing Friday, 11:15. Teach step at the Vault.
Well, thank you, Ari, for that rundown. Now, our next conversation with Girl Talk is colorism still a thing? And you mentioned your book, Sorry for the Wait, and I had the pleasure of hearing your story personally. I know you touch on colorism in your story, so when this was on my heart, I definitely wanted to present you as with the opportunity to share your story and get your insight on it. You know, some of my story is similar, and to be 100% honest, this topic has been on my heart for like a year, probably over a year, but I ran from it because it's such a vulnerable topic. Would you agree?
Yeah, very much so. It's a little taboo.
Why
People
would
don't
you?
like to talk about it.
Okay, but we're going there. And so the goal is to curate a safe space. And as you can see from the flyers and the women I invited, I got a mix. I really wanted to touch base on people of all skin tones who dealt with colorism. I think typically we think of it as those with darker skin tones in our community, but those with lighter skin tones have their own experiences too, as I'm learning with these interviews. But I'd like to hear more about why colorism as a topic is important to you.
Well, at a very young age, very early on, I recognized that colorism was very prevalent in our community. Even in grade school, from first grade on up, I noticed that the boys just always typically preferred the more light-skinned, fair-skinned females. Whether my personality was better, whether I aesthetically looked better, whether I was more respectful, more credentialed, more educated, more athletic, it just never seemed like it really mattered. Growing up, especially if you're an 80s, 90s baby, we had all the influences, all the comedies always showed the light skinned woman with the man. She was the one who was pursued. I mean, think of Martin, think of Fresh Prince, think about House Party, how all the light skinned women were the women who were pursued. And the light skinned woman always had what? The dark skinned or brown skinned best friend that was what? Ghetto, loud, the one that no one really wanted, the one that either got pregnant early on in high school, just attributes that made you associate darker skin with lack of education, with lack of tact. And for a long time, I subscribed to that. I remember having crushes on guys, and they would always go for my friend. Just little certain things, we talk about white privilege a lot, but light skin privilege are the things, certain stuff that I would never be able to get away with saying to a man that I have interest in, that I know that my light skinned friends could say or do. And I still see it today. I think it's a little bit better because we've shined a light on not like exemplifying someone is better because of their skin tone. Actually, now I see a lot of people praising dark skinned women only because I think they went through so much as far as obstacles are concerned with being chosen for workspaces, with being chosen for modeling, for being chosen for just to get looked at as a typical regular human being that deserves respect. So now we're like, okay, chocolate skin is so beautiful. But back in my day, jokes. If you were dark skinned, we used to have rank sessions back in the day. That's the first thing they would point out was, oh, you black, you ugly, look like a monkey, type things like that. Light skin, I never noticed the light skinned girls or guys going through anything like that. I felt like even though I was always brown skinned, it's either you're light or you're not. It was never, oh, she's light, she's brown, she's dark. It's either you're light skinned or you're not. And you also have to think about in our community, even with dealing with certain organizations where the stipulation, if you're not lighter than a brown paper bag, you can't join. I'm trying to say things like that. And it just has carried on for generations and generations. Even in workspaces, I noticed that sometimes the fairer skinned females are accepted or they have found more comfort in white spaces. It's no different from the mentality we've had where if you were light enough, you could be a house slave and you can be accepted amongst, our oppressor. And that has carried on from generation to generation.
And you brought up a lot of different topics, and I've heard other friends share back in the day, there were no different hues of skin tones, right? One of the things I specialize in with my writing is talking about ebony brown or mahogany brown or red brown or cinnamon. There's so many adjectives to describe the different shades of brown that we come in. But unfortunately, our immaturity as a people group, it was light and dark. Because I'm looking at you like, you brown, like, why are they categorizing you as dark? I don't understand.
Isn't that crazy? And like, so my mom, again, she affirmed my skin color. She used to call me toffee. Like, oh, you're a toffee brown. You're sun kissed. And I'm like, or you're peanut butter skin. And I'm like, am I? Because the boys at school are associating me as dark skinned. I mean, I'm not the fairest person in the room, and I'm not the darkest person in the room. But believe it or not, for a long time, especially up until about sixth grade, you know, you know, I would be considered more of a dark skinned girl, especially in the summertime. You know how it goes. Like when we like a brown skinned girl, like I'm at my lightest right now. In the winter I'll get like a shade lighter, but in the middle of the summertime in May and June and July, I get chocolate. Just instances like that. Like you go outside and play for a few hours, you come back in the house, damn, you got black. You know what I'm trying to say? But not in a encouraging way, not in a oh my God, you've been kissed by the sun. It's, oh, you're dark skinned. Like I remember, I ran track in high school. I remember 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. We would get ready to run for states and districts. We would be hiding from the sun, keeping our windbreakers on, putting up umbrellas so that we wouldn't get darker. You know what I'm trying to say? Like it wasn't a compliment when someone said, dang, you got dark. Dang, you got black. You know what I'm trying to say? And now that I'm a little bit older and I've become more accepting of myself and I love my skin, oh, I love sitting in the sun. Like, I can't wait for it to be hot outside where I could just go outside and just sit and get darker because I love how I look when the sun touches my skin. There you go. But yeah, it just took a long time to get there. It took a long time to get there. A lot of self affirmation and reaffirmation, learning that you are fine the way you are, not desiring to be light skinned because of being accepted by somebody else.
Now, one of the things you shared is it was a negative thing to be darker. It would have been different if you were affirmed, like, oh, so I see you, girl, with your tan. I see you out there, whatever. If it was a positive thing, unfortunately, it wasn't. And it sounds like a lot of that was outside of the home, not inside of the home, right? So you were validated in the home, but because of the rejection and bullying of your peers, and you mentioned guys, so that's a whole nother thing. So was it just from the guys or was it from girls and guys?
Mostly from the guys. Mostly from the guys, of course. And I might be a little bit biased because to be transparent, when you're younger, you really only care about what the opposite sex has to say about you. So, like, if a boy that I liked affirmed me and liked my skin color, then I'm sure I wouldn't have cared that I was brown skinned. But because we were all in that state of mind where the lighter you are, the better you are, if a guy said, you're cute for a brown skinned girl or you're cute for a dark skinned girl, it's like it's a little asterisk saying, I mean, I guess you look okay if it wasn't for your brown skin or for your dark skin. And I heard that growing up my entire life until I got a little bit older. Um, the girls, it's like the girls never said anything, but the light skinned girls had an arrogance about themselves. Like, I know I'm light skinned. Like, even if let's just be transparent. Even if you're a light skinned girl, they say you don't dress as well, you're not as kept, like some people would say. They still walk into a room sometimes of, expecting, a certain privilege because for their whole life that's what they've been given is, that pretty privilege is a thing, like where you don't have to, work as hard to prove that you're intelligent or work as hard to prove that you deserve to be in a certain space. And I saw that for a long time, especially especially high school and college. I just noticed, I was like, oh, well, tell me your credentials. How'd you get accepted? Da, da, da. And they're listing things. I'm like, I had to prove myself 20 times over to get into the same space as you. And yeah, so that's just like my story.
And I want to highlight, because I'm familiar with your story, a lot of these experiences in your childhood happen in the inner city. Right?
Mm.
So colorism is basically like intra racism. So this is
Mhm.
rejection based on skin tone that we're navigating within our own community from our own race. But the interesting thing is, you also went to college, you also have a career in middle class America, you've been exposed across different races. Sadly, it seems the mindset can still be there from other Black people in these more professional, privileged settings. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is correct. You know, I'm a nurse. A lot of times, depending on the specialty, I'm the only black nurse on the floor sometimes. Like the higher the specialty, the less I see people who look like me. And then I notice the black women who work in the same specialties kind of have to conform, code switch. Oh, they soften their voice or they straighten their hair. And I'm not having it. Like, I'll go sit by myself. Like, you know what I'm saying? But I see how if you advocate for yourself as a black woman, as a brown skinned woman, as a dark skinned woman, you get looked at as aggressive. Oh, you're intimidating. No, I'm just expressing myself. I can keep my voice very monotone, and I can see when I'm, advocating for myself in relation to any subjects at work. I can see them like shrink and almost get scared. I'm like, is everything okay? Like, but that's the thing that I see typically in the corporate America. Also with management, when I see a woman that looks like me with my skin color or my hair texture in management, is very few and far between occurrences. And when I speak to them, when they're transparent with me, because I'm constantly always asked to be in management positions, which I never accept for one of these reasons. I say, well, tell me about it. And they tell me it's hell. And who wants to go through that? You know what I'm saying? Like, who wants to go through hell for an extra couple of $1,000s? No one. And it's literally because of appearance. Like, example, I'm not going to name like the company. I was working for a hospital. I'm no longer there. I was at cardiac ICU. I was the only black nurse. Now, I've been a nurse for 12 years. I have my master's. I'm authored. I'm published. I teach students. I teach baby nurses to become excellent nurses. That's how I'm able to get on the floor. I look around, they're all white nurses. I talked to one nurse. I said, oh, how long you been a nurse? Oh, for a year. Back when I first became a new graduate, they would never hire first year nurses to go to somewhere like cardiac ICU. But I've noticed there's no first year black nurses. There's no second year black nurses. There's no third year black nurses. In order to get in specialized places like that, you have to be exceptional. You have to be someone that's like surpassed expectation. But if you're white or if you're fair skinned, sometimes you can just walk into places without having to have all those credentials because you're palatable, because you don't incite fear, because you don't seem like competition. And a lot of times those are things that happen when you're a chocolate woman or a dark-skinned woman within the field that I'm in.
I don't know if this statement resonates with you, but one of my frustrations is that people will only see, or this is the first thing they see about me, is that I'm darker skinned. When I think of myself, I don't even think of my skin. I think of my intellect, I think of my heart, my faith, like internal attributes. When I'm going out into the world, it's about what I want to accomplish and these characteristics about myself, but it's other people who remind me. And I don't know what to get
that. I think now that I'm older and that we're finally in a generation or in a mind state where now that we have different hues and now I'm brown and not dark skinned. Isn't it crazy? They don't point it out to me as much. Every once in a while, someone close to me will let me know about my dark skin when I get in the sun. But I will say, when I was in my season of singleness, that's when it was pointed out the most. Of course, always a man. Um, oh, you're a little bit darker than your pictures, depending on how I take the pictures, the lighting or whatever. Even if I don't put any filter on, if the light is hanging on me a certain way, I take a picture and they see me, oh, you're a little darker than your pictures. Oh, you're really brown skinned. I'm thinking to myself, is that a problem? Is it okay like that I'm brown skinned? So I think that with my more chocolate friends and family, especially I have a Sudanese friend, so she's super chocolate, gorgeous, flawless skin. I think because we're in such a country that's unfortunately more whitewashed, that she is like the outlier. So the darker you are in a country that is typically white, light skin with a few drops of brown, the darker you are, the more people are going to notice you and they want to lead with that.
It annoys the mess out of me. And honestly, a lot of it is positive, but it just annoys me because I am not my skin. Like, that's how I feel about it. Like, I'm so much more. I don't understand why this has to be
I'm
an
gonna say,
issue.
when I first met you, my first thought was never, oh, look at a dark skinned girl. It's like, oh, like, that's crazy to me, but it's not what I'm looking, I guess it's not what I'm looking for.
Yeah, or shape wise, it's like aesthetics, like
Hmm.
any aesthetics. But to be honest, I was, and I know other darker women who have this story. I was told the exception. You're the exception to being attractive for a dark skinned person, and it is such
That's
a
crazy.
girl all the time backwards compliment, as if darker skinned women are typically not attractive. And
Hmm.
it's so interesting because I liked House Party because everybody likes Shireen. But in
Yeah.
this conversation, I understand. Oh, but she was the hood chick who was
The
poor.
loud friend.
I could see that negative stereotype. So even though we are presented as like attractive or whatever, there's still this negativity surrounding it.
Right. Like, can you name a light skinned, let's say, character that played secondary to the primary character that was loud and ghetto? Can you name one?
I have to think about that one.
Yeah, you have to think about it, but I don't have to think about all the dark skinned ones.
I know. I
I
don't know.
can't. I can't think of one. I can't think of one supporting actress that was loud and ghetto.
I,
Maybe
I don't know if Gabrielle Union qualifies as darker skin. She might
she's
for
chocolate and dark skin. She's
yeah,
chocolate like.
and especially for Hollywood, right? Because they have a whole.
Oh, for sure.
So I could see like being Mary Jane, so she is the protagonist and that sort of thing. So she probably will get those roles where she can come off more classy, reserved, and stuff like that.
But who's a light skinned one? That light skinned second character that was considered ghetto?
Girl, because the friend in being Mary Jane wasn't ghetto; she was a doctor, even though she was lighter skinned.
Mm-hmm.
Girl, I'm gonna have to look for him now. I'm like,
Ain't
what?
that crazy? You have to search.
Yeah, it's
You
sad.
have to search. You have to search, and it's unfortunate. It's no different. And I know we're speaking on behalf of like women, but black men get it too. Like, especially back in the 90s, they would typecast dark skinned black men as thugs a lot. And then the pretty boys will always be what? Light skinned with curly hair.
I've had friends talk about that, how men get it too. I still don't think it's as bad for them. And
Oh,
maybe the
it's not as bad because
experience.
we like dark skinned men. See,
I
that's the
that's what I was
difference.
gonna say. I feel like yes, the light skinned men get it with the green eyes and the curly hair and all that. But the dark skinned men still get play. And I think that's because our society is more wrapped around their ability to provide,
Correct.
their build. For us, it is more about skin tone and body shape and hair.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like a tall, dark skinned and handsome man, he can still get a whole bunch of women. If you're taller and you're dark skinned as a woman, then
Yeah.
you get looked at as masculine.
And very similar to you, I was just tormented as a child for my skin tone and my weight. I was called fat, black, and ugly. I was told I looked like a big black truck, tar
Oh
baby.
no.
Oh yeah, horrible, horrible,
I got called tar baby before, but never
horrible.
a truck. That's awful. Shame
And
on them.
I know, and no, but it's from our people. Like
Mhm.
looking back, I'm like, this is from our people, and I believe it is rooted in slavery and being divided between the house and the field. So this was something put on us by our slave masters who were racist, and we internalized the racism and now projected it into our community.
Yep, yep. They did an excellent job. 400 or 500 years later, still a thing.
And to your point, we had movements. So in the 70s, Black Power was big, Afros were out, women were going natural. I think more recently we have the Black Girl Magic movement. I feel like that's about women empowerment, sisterhood. Women are really taking authority, agency over the narrative.
Yeah.
And a lot of this has been perpetuated by men, influenced by the standard of beauty in white culture. And I do think there's self love happening, even with the men. There is self love happening, and so that's encouraging at least.
Mm-hmm. And I think that now we know how to educate our daughters and our sons about being more accepting. Now with my son Tyler, his situation is a little different, but every time I see a chocolate woman, I big her up. And it's no slight or shade to his teachers, but he has all white teachers. So when he gets into a space of black women outside of me, I go, look at her beautiful brown skin. Look how chocolate she is. Like, I have to help him to understand that his skin is beautiful. You know, people who look like him are beautiful, because I don't want him to wake up one day and be like, is there something wrong with me because I don't look like you? I'm not as fair skinned as you. So I think now we've really learned to educate our kids about not associating worth with being fair skinned.
Yeah, that's a good word. Now, we're going to wrap this up, but I do want to share. So, because I've been able to talk to some of our counterparts for this discussion, which they're all from the pull up experience, I've gotten to hear the stories of some of them who have not experienced really the light skin privilege that we would just assume. And a lot of their experience has been not being Black enough.
Okay.
And that they were rejected by the Black community because they weren't dark enough and that they were white. And this is a message that I'm like hearing more. I'm like, what? So there's this whole other part of it. And part of it is kids is going to find something to say to you. I don't care if you short, tall, fat, skinny, light, dark. Part of it is just ignorance. And my spiritual mom is very fair as well. And she's talked about some of this stuff. But I think it's wild to face it on the other end of things where you're not accepted because you're not dark enough. What are your thoughts on that? Have you heard about this?
Yeah. Well, similar to white privilege, sometimes you don't know you have a privilege because you don't have to know you have it, if that makes sense. So if you walk into a room and you've been granted a certain amount of respect your whole life, certain hardships that you just never had to endure, that's a privilege. You know, men have a privilege, white people have a privilege, fair skinned people have a privilege. Unfortunately, if we have to rank things on totem poles, like it's stories that, while I can see fair skinned women going through things like, you know, we're very racist amongst ourselves sometimes, like you're saying, like discriminating amongst ourselves. And it's because we see other cultures accepting the fair skin more than they accept us. So we might feel a little more resentment. So you're not Black enough because you're not as chocolate as me. And that's within home, right? Within community. But you get to go outside of community as a fair skinned person and be more accepted, be accepted by the whites. So therefore, interviews might not be as difficult, or stereotypes may not be as difficult, opposed to someone who is darker skinned. So I believe that brown people, dark skinned people catch hell on both ends, within the community and outside the community. Being fair skinned, okay, you catch hell inside community because we might feel a way like, oh, you look a little light skinned, or you talk a different way, so we bully, right? Then you get to leave community and then get accepted by everybody else because white is right. That's just what, you know, we were taught back in the 80s and 90s, and still trying to kind of push now in today's society. You see what's going on. So I do definitely, I empathize with it. I can't relate, of course, because I've never had to be associated as somebody that's light skinned, and I definitely can see how they've been bullied, but I don't think it's anywhere near it's amount, you know, the same amount. Depending on, and to be fair, if you're super light skinned and you go to like the deep inner city hood, you probably gonna catch hell. You know what I'm trying to say? You probably gonna catch hell. And I've noticed that the light skinned women tend to catch hell from the women, but be worshipped by the men. Vice versa, when you're dark skinned, the men treat you awful, and the women may not even acknowledge you. And then you catch hell outside the community. So you know what I'm trying to say? Like, I empathize with what fair skinned people are saying. Like, yeah, you're not Black enough. But imagine you catching it from all ends.
And I'm not minimizing the struggle of the dark skinned person, trust me. And I'm not saying they don't have a privilege that they're not aware of. That's what privilege is. I have an American privilege. I have an education privilege. But what I will say is it was shocking to hear the levels. Like, one of them had bricks thrown at them. I mean, I wouldn't expect. Yes, girl. Like, this is beyond bullying. So I think those discussions are going to help educate us all and bring more empathy. But I definitely wouldn't say that that's typical. Like,
That's crazy, the bricks. Okay. All right. Not
but
the way my family was set up. Oh no.
I think it was educational for me and probably healing for me to hear how you can get it from the other end of things. So just want to throw that out.
Yeah.
Okay. Any last words for our guests? Do you want to share maybe some tips on your own inner healing, how you have gotten to where you are and where you are today with your view on self-love, all the things?
Just persistence and consistency. That's it. There is no magic potion to this. You're going to have days where you look in the mirror and you love yourself, and days where you feel a little off, and you just keep pushing forward, keep doing your thing, keep being consistent with yourself, keep loving on other people, keep giving so you can receive. That's one of the biggest things I say. I have because I give, and just everything else. I don't know how spiritual religious people are, but I tend to just leave things in God's hands. Like, especially lately, I read a quote that said, fear is saying, what if? Faith is saying, even if. So I've just been saying, even if throughout my day for the last couple of months, and everything is going to work in your favor, guys. So yeah. So yeah, again, follow me, Train Ari Strong on IG, Train Ari Strong on Facebook, Train Ari Strong on TikTok, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you're trying to lose weight, you want to love yourself a little bit more aesthetically, make sure you come follow me.
All right, you guys, you heard it here first, even if with Ari Baker on Girl Talk. If you're in Cleveland, stop through October 19th at Ink Therapy Studio, the only Black female-owned tattoo parlor. Shout out to Butter. From 6 to 9 p.m., we will be there. Tickets are available on Eventbrite. All right, thanks, Ari.
Thank you.
Hi, guys, and welcome to Girl Talk 101. I am your host, Nicole D. Miller. And I'm super excited to introduce another newbie to the Girl Talk platform, Miss Nakia Hudson. How are you today, Nakia?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. And I know you've been in the space, but you haven't been on the platform.
Exactly. I have been a part of, I think it was your first Girl Talk, as a matter of
Yes.
yes,
Back
very
in the
first.
day.
Right, right. Look how far you've come.
Yes, and both of us really, because now you have a whole new building. And so, why don't you give our audience a little bit of information about yourself, what you do, who you are, all the things?
Sure. My name is Nakia Hudson. I am a winemaker and winery owner of 2U Wines Winery and Event Space. As Nicole mentioned, we just moved to a bigger space. So now we offer events where we throw our owns as well as rent the space. I have been making wine for about 10 years now, and I am also executive producer of the Pull Up Experience. A lot of
I'm gonna do
people
the
about the Pull Up Experience. Yes, boom, 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 boom. The Pull Up Experience is actually filmed at 2U Wines. And for those of you who don't know, we are a podcast that gives small businesses or businesses in Cleveland a platform to share what they do, let people know who they are, and also continue to network so we can always support each other.
and
And
fun.
I'm on the panel
Okay.
of Girl Talk.
And I was going to say, fun fact. So, our next discussion for Girl Talk is featuring all the women of color from Pull Up, which I'm excited about. It was like my vision. I wanted to get you guys on there, and then it just worked out for this topic.
Yes, yes.
So speaking of this topic, the topic is colorism still a thing? Now I actually did not ask any of the other panelists this when I did their one-on-ones, but I want to ask you, what do you feel like the answer to that question is? Is it still a thing?
I can't say that I've personally experienced it as of recent years. In the past, I have. But I will say I think that it still exists.
Okay. Now, what is your definition of colorism? Let's start there.
I think that colorism is something that we were kind of taught years ago during slavery, that pit the lighter skinned African Americans against the darker complected African Americans, giving them reason to believe that the lighter you are, the better you are.
Yeah. And this is another thought that just occurred to me. Why do you think it worked? Like, why do you think it infiltrated our community successfully?
I have an answer to that, but then I'm going to build on that of something that I heard in recent years that I never thought about. So I think that it worked because to have a lighter complexion meant that someone white, more than likely slave owners, impregnated darker complected African Americans. So that made the situation to where you're better because you're lighter, because you're more white. And white was looked upon as the best. And once our history was taken away and we didn't have our history to really fall back on to know better. What I want to build off of is, the saying is, you were a house inward if you were light, and you were out in the fields if you were dark. I heard someone say, though, that how do you know the situation in the house? How do you know that that was a better situation? If you were outside and you did your work and did what you were supposed to do, you may not have come up upon so much aggression, so much, pain, so many things that you had to be punished for. Versus in the house, you have a situation where you are constantly around the master. You are constantly around the mistress. And how do you know it wasn't constant shaming or constant beating? We know that if the master was attracted to any of the slaves, the mistress had a problem with that. So they were subjected to beatings as well. And you're constantly under the eye of them, where I feel like maybe it was something that you had to be perfect about. Neither one of the situations are great, but I just never thought about it in that way.
That's an interesting perspective, and it is sensitive, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
it's different types of abuse, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to minimize someone else's abuse,
Exactly.
comparing it.
Exactly. None
Um,
of it.
yeah, it makes me think of a situation I had in a very toxic work environment. I was the only person of color in an office environment. It was probably about 8 associates. And the majority of the workers were lower income, minorities, foreigners. There was one brother who I think he was a little higher up, but still lower on the totem pole and not in the office, in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had dialogue one day, and he was like, "Oh, sis," I'm like, "How you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, it's hard out there in the field." I said, "Brother, it ain't no better in the house, okay?" So we were referencing
Yeah.
basically
Yes.
that situation. And, me as someone who's in the office, my circumstances are more comfortable, right? Like, I am not doing backbending labor like some of the lower income, workers or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But clearly, I was facing a lot of racism, which is why I had to leave,
Yes.
and rejection and persecution.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it can be similar. It's probably different types of abuse.
Exactly.
And the key thing is the division
Mm-hmm.
that was used to separate us,
Yeah.
right?
And it definitely worked, like you said.
Yeah, and it really, because it got in our minds thinking the oppressor or the master is the elite person.
Mm-hmm.
And the more we look like them, the more privileged we are, the more comfortable we are, the more beautiful we are. And unfortunately, we carried that on throughout generations and internalized it amongst ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Agreed.
So you did mention you don't feel like you've seen it as much today. Now, would you say you've been a witness of colorism for darker skinned women, or colorism has been projected towards you as a fair skinned woman?
Both.
Okay.
Both. I have, instances of both. Um, and it's just, again, it's really, it just makes me feel like, wow, we are sisters. We are, black comes in every shade, every single one of them. There's nothing missing from the spectrum. So, to know that worked, to feel that worked, to see that it worked is just the reason why I jumped on this so fast.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, no, we're all sisters. No, every shade is beautiful, every last one of them. And that's my opinion. So I have seen, I'll talk more about it on Girl Talk, but I've seen both sides of the spectrum. I've seen, I've been treated unfairly. I've been treated better. I've seen that be done with a darker complected female. So yeah, it's there. It's been there. I've even someone very close to me is darker complected, and I think she's beautiful. I think everything about her is beautiful from outside to in. And because we're close, she shared with me, her feelings towards lighter skinned females. And, we had several conversations where I just, tried to understand where she was coming from and tried to make her understand where I'm coming from. And like I just said, to let her know that, there's just all different shades and they're all beautiful to me. To be able to have that vast, that many shades, and there's so many different beauties and different characteristics that make us so beautiful. And yeah, it needs to be talked about.
And you sharing that about your friend reminded me, I know that I've had other lighter skinned women in my life who I do believe I've been a tool to help them heal from the rejection that they face from other darker skinned women.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like you've been the same for darker skinned women to be a tool to be used to help them heal. Is that something you would say?
Yes, I absolutely agree. I'm just, like I said, I believe in all shades and types and sizes of beauty, and I've always been that way. But you know what? That's not true. That's not true. I can remember being very young and paying attention to that, like, because in my family, five of my, well, three of my aunts and four of my aunts and one of my uncles have the same father. And then my mom and she has a brother that have the same father together. And we are lighter complected. And the other side of my family is from brown to darker. And I remember being young thinking to myself, like, why am I different? Why am I different from them? Because I'm the closest cousin to my aunts. I'm closer to their age than my cousins are. The rest of my cousins are. And so I was with them and I'm like, why am I different? Why is my skin lighter? Why is my mom that light? What are we white? Are we, and I remember having those thoughts thinking, does that make us white? Are you white, mom? Why are you so light? And so I do remember feeling that way very young. And I also remember feeling like it was superior at that young age. It took me to learn, that that's not the case. It took me to be talked to and, sat down and explained to that that's not the case.
Can you think of any, and thank you so much for your vulnerability, because we're in real time here. So thanks for just coming up. Can you think of any instances where you felt like you used a privilege of being lighter skinned to help someone who was darker skinned? Maybe they were being bullied or teased, or your heart just kind of went out to them because you noticed it and maybe others didn't notice it?
Oh, that's a good question. And what pops up in my mind is high school. I went to school with a girl who was darker complected. And I can't I can't I can't really say if it was that or whether it was because you could tell that she was probably not from the best home. And she didn't have the best of clothes and didn't have but she was super cool to me. And this was me transferring to a different high school that was more diverse. But I felt like, she befriended me and but she was tough and she was rough, but she befriended me and I was with it. I'm like, hey, what's up? And like I said, she had this beautiful voice. And I just remember people just misunderstanding her, like just seeing that tough exterior, seeing, that she's darker complected, seeing that, and teasing her and making fun of her to where I felt like I had to come to her defense. Like, hey, she's cool as shit. She's cool as shit. That's my people. Like, I like her. You know what I'm saying? She's good people, and she could have defended herself all day, knocked them all out. But it wasn't fair to me. And I felt like they were bullying her because she was darker complected, because you could tell she didn't have the best of things. And that's pretty much, as far as that question, that's what came to mind. Other than that, I can't think of anything else.
Do you feel like it was in reference to your like living environment? Because I'm thinking of the hood versus the suburbs. Do you feel like it has anything to do that?
No, I'm from the hood. Nope. I'm from the hood. And I honestly feel like, to be honest with you, where I grew up, there was all nationalities. It was a mix of everything. And I actually feel like we were closer and we looked out for each other more. I don't think it was a color thing until I moved into the suburbs. Yes. That's when I kind of noticed, like, I'm different. When I told you in the beginning, like, hey, what's why I'm light skinned? Like, why are we light skinned? But when I was very young, it was a mix of everything and we all played together. So maybe so. I don't know if it was just me coming to the realization just because I was out of that environment, just because I wasn't around so many, having such a diverse mixture and where I lived. I think that was more so what it was. I'm not sure if it's a suburb hood situation.
I think it can be either, honestly, from the conversations I'm having and my own experiences, having lived in both environments.
Okay.
But you sharing before that you feel like you haven't seen it as much these days.
Mhm.
Why do you think that is?
I think that, Black women are really trying to be intentional about supporting each other and loving on each other and realizing that we're all going through the same struggle. I think that we're all moving with more intention, and that's it's really silly, and I think that just at least the people that I'm around, I feel like we all move in it with intention, and that's not even on the forefront of our mind. I think we all see beauty from the people that I know, that I'm around. I haven't seen it come to light.
And the words that are coming up for me are maturity and, of course, our own self love. I
Mm-hmm.
think that, it is an immature mindset to base someone's worth and value on something as shallow as skin tone or hair or weight or these things that fluctuate and die, like not
Seriously.
the character or mindset, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also think it is our own self-love. I think that we've projected internally the racism that we faced
Mm-hmm.
and we, you know, rejected each other. And so unfortunately that happened, but I do feel like we're healing from that as a people group and coming together, especially with the Black Lives Matter movement, Black girls, Black magic girl, what is it? Black magic?
Black girl magic.
Black magic, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's really bringing us together to see like we're not the enemy here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. We deal with we deal with enough, and we definitely don't need to be battling amongst each other like that. You know,
Yeah.
not that. That's doing what we accuse other people of doing. We have to, like you said, maturity. We have to be more. Like I said, it's so.
Yeah.
But But I answered the question. I said to you, I think it's still there. I don't think it's gone.
Yeah.
I don't think it's
Yeah.
gone.
And I think the residue and the wounds are still there, which is why we're going to have this dialogue to help us have a space for healing. And I always pick topics that are personal to me, and I put this off because it is very uncomfortable and sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that I'm in good company, and we're all looking towards building healthier relationships with each other and self-perception. So thank you
Yeah,
for joining this conversation, Nakia, and
absolutely.
us through it. We're going to wrap up this discussion. So let our audience know if they want to connect with you, support you. What are your websites, social media handles, upcoming events, all the things?
Absolutely. So I can be reached. Well, my address for the winery is 1449 Messenger Court. That's in South Euclid on Mayfield and Green. So if you know where the Marks Plaza is, the Key Bank Africa Taste and Lounge, there's a standalone building behind Key Bank and Africa Taste and Lounge, and I am right there. Website www.2uwines, that's the number 2, the word uwines.com. Social media handle for Instagram is 2uwines as well. And I will be having a R&B hip hop bingo. Well, I'm excited about that. That is coming on October 18th from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. We're going to have prizes and dancing and fun and a DJ. It is going to be such a good time. I'm excited. Let's come out, dance around a little bit, enjoy ourselves, hopefully win some great prizes because we will have those. And I am around. I'm around with the pull-up experience. We are constantly trying to give, like I said, businesses platforms so that they can let people know who they are, where they are, and we can all continue to network and build together.
So your R&B bingo event is the 18th?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the day before the Girl Talk panel discussion, which is
Mm-hmm.
October 19th.
Yes.
It is being held at Ink Therapy Studio from 6 to 9
Love.
p.m. Tickets are $10, $15 at the door. Nakia is sponsoring with her wine, and you guys have to check out these lemon drops next time you come to her. What are those drinks you gave me last night?
My new wine, it is my spin on a lemon drop, and it's called Drop. And
Girl,
yeah, just enough sweetness, just enough tart. Yes, that's my favorite right now. And then we
yeah.
also have another new wine. It's a pink Moscato, and it's a Moscato with a little bit of a tropical flavor to it. So yeah, that's nice. You handled it well. You handled it well. I was cracking up. You handled it well. That was a great event too.
It
That was.
was fun. It was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you, Nakia. We will talk to you soon on the
Yes,
Girl Talk
have it.
podcast.
I'm excited.
All right, talk to you
All right,
later.
take care. Bye bye.
Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. To continue the conversation, join our Girl Talk community by following at Girl Talk CLE on Instagram and Facebook.com/HTOHB, where you can join the Girl Talk Facebook group. You can follow me personally on Instagram at HTOHB, on Facebook.com/HTOHB, and at YouTube.com/@HTOHB. Feel free to reach out via email info@indiemillerpublishing.com. If you're a writer who wants to take the next steps into becoming a published author, you can book a one-on-one consultation at indiemiller.pub. Just let me know you heard about my publishing house through Girl Talk, and I'll give you a 50% discount on our one-on-one. If you'd like weekly inspirational nuggets, you can subscribe to my blog and monthly newsletter at NicoleDmiller.com, where you can learn more about me and my writings. Till next time.